A woman goes out for a run and disappears. Her husband tracks her phone, finds it on the side of the road along with her earbuds and hair strands caught in it. 3 weeks later, she's found on the side of the road, bound up with chains, beaten, and even branded, and a story about how 2 women kidnapped her and kept her captive. But when the DNA comes back, a different story is told. Welcome back to Tell Me the Crime, episode 8.
Ooh,
are you excited?
I'm excited.
You excited? Yeah. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about this time?
You're going to tell me about a crime.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, good call. Yes. Holy shit, you are a genius. Wow. Tell me about a crime. Okay. Well, let's get into it. Let's just jump right into it because I know you got lots of work coming up.
I'm excited.
I know, you're almost done your dissertation, so...
Oh,
okay.
That's a crime.
You're excited for the crime. You're like, fuck the dissertation. Yeah, exactly. I get it.
So when you talk about dissertations in a Tell Me the Crime podcast, that's a crime.
Oh, that is a crime. That's a good point. That's a very good point. Okay, so let's get this going. So it's 2016 in Redding, California. Now, Sherri Papini, or Papini, I don't know how to pronounce it.
What's the title of the Tell Me the Crime episode?
The title of the episode this time is The Disappearance That Wasn't.
Interesting.
I know,
Disappearance, right? But that wasn't disappearance.
Yeah, that's probably very linguistically interesting to you.
Ooh, disappearance that wasn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that is then.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's
that
kind
wasn't,
of,
but maybe that is.
Well, maybe it is, or maybe it isn't. But you'll understand when
my point
the episode
that wasn't
concludes.
In the past. But
you'll understand when the episode concludes.
Okay,
It'll make
excited.
sense then. We can come back to the title then. Let's set the scene. So it's 2016 in Redding, California. Mm-hmm. And the person of interest, or the victim in this case, is Sherri Papini, who is 34 years old. She's married. She has 2 young sons that are under 5 years old. I think they're about 2 and 4. Mm-hmm. So on the surface, a very normal life. Pretty plain. nothing crazy or stands out. And one afternoon, she goes out for a run. Mm-hmm. Okay, and doesn't come back.
What happened?
Ooh, exactly, right? So... her husband notices, obviously, that she doesn't come back, right? Mm-hmm. She goes out for a run, and it takes a while for, him to realize. But he's like, wow, she's been gone for a while. So he ends up tracking her phone, right? He uses, Find My iPhone or
okay.
Yeah, exactly. Because, you and I share locations all the time, right? So he tracks her phone, and he ends up finding it on the ground with earbuds tangled and hair caught in them on the side of the road. Oh. Okay. So it kind of looks like something happened fast.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. What might you assume if you had seen that?
Well, someone was trying to maybe take something from her when she was running, or maybe she was wearing a necklace or luxurious jewelry or something.
Yeah, but what would you assume that means if you found someone's phone on the ground with the earbuds with hair in it, and not the person? Well, you would assume that something happened to them, right?
Yeah,
You'd
exactly.
assume that they were maybe taken or kidnapped
of
or
course.
something.
Right.
Or worse,
killed.
Right? Exactly. Okay. So the husband obviously gets very worried, reports it to the police.
Right away?
Yep. If I found that, I would probably go to the police right away as well. Your phone, you're not going to just leave your phone there with your earbuds on the ground. That's very sketchy. So search teams go out pretty readily, pretty fast, right? Word gets around. Volunteers end up combing the area. Mm-hmm. And
that's a very fast move.
It's pretty fast, yeah. So pretty quickly it gets around. The news is pretty shocking to a lot of people, right? And people are very worried. And especially because her husband ends up going on TV and he's crying and he's pleading and he's begging for whatever happened for her to come home, or for whoever captured her to let her go, and and whatnot. So people, of course, believe his pain, because he is in pain. He's crying. He's pleading. So the story spreads and eventually even gets national attention, right? So it's a pretty big story at this point. And everything is focused on her, okay, on Sherri, right? And this matters more than it actually seems at this point. Because once a story reaches this level, like getting that much attention and national sort of, national spotlight, it starts generating something pretty powerful, right, for people.
Yeah, a lot of assumptions.
Well, a lot of assumptions, but a lot of attention, a lot of concern, a lot of sympathy for the victim, right? And psychologically, right, if you were to see that can become pretty reinforcing as the person. If you're still if you're watching that, right? If you're seeing that everyone is worried about you and everyone is concerned and has sympathy, it's like, wow, everyone cares about me, right? That can become a reinforcing moment. Everything is about her at that point, right? But again, we don't know what's happened to her yet.
But did she know, though?
Well, this is what we'll get to, right? So it's a fascinating case because it's not as straightforward as it seems on the surface level. Okay. So 3 weeks later, okay, 3 weeks after her disappearance, after finding those earbuds and her phone and the hair on the ground on the side of the road, Thanksgiving morning, a driver sees someone on the side of the road. She's disoriented.
Oh, that's her.
Alive. And yes, it's her, right? So she is alive, but she's disheveled. She's thin. She's bruised up. Her hair is cut unevenly.
Wow.
Her nose is injured.
No.
And around her waist is a chain. Right?
What?
Yeah, not tightly restraining her, but enough to suggest that something happened. Right? So, of course, that is pretty consistent with everything that everyone assumed, right? That she was kidnapped, that she was tortured, that something was going on here, right? So let's get to her particular side of the story, right? So when they finally get her, of course, the police interview her, the husband gets information. So what she says happened is the following. She says that 2 women kidnapped her, okay? I think she said 2 Hispanic women or something like that, kidnapped her, held her captive, beat her, burned a mark into her shoulder. So they branded her, right? With like a metal piece of, like a wood burning kind of thing into her shoulder. And they did have that shoulder, like the burn on her shoulder and everything, right? But they eventually let her go. Okay, so...
Wait.
The kidnappers let her go eventually.
Okay.
Right. What were you going to say, though?
No, I was thinking of, is that the police who let her or let...
Well, I mean, the police had no reason to hold her, right? I mean, she's the victim in this case, right? Yeah. So let's just listen to how structured that particular narrative is, right? It has a villain, it has suffering, it has survival. So it's not just a claim, it's a strong narrative, a strong
that she
story.
Created herself?
That's a good guess. That's a very good guess. Because yes, it does come out that she did
create the narrative?
That entire story.
So that was not a crime.
There was not, and that's why I said at the beginning.
She chose to disappear.
And we'll get to that. So
okay.
Why the hell would you want to do that, right?
Yeah.
So we'll actually get into this psychological pattern that is called pseudologia fantastica. Okay,
Ooh,
so
that's the first time I heard that.
Exactly.
Term.
Well, actually, I had to look it up. so yeah.
Can you say that again?
Pseudologia fantastica, and essentially, it's a form of pathological lying.
Ooh.
So pathological storytelling. It's a condition. It's a real condition that people have, right? Where they make up lies and they can't stop themselves from doing these detailed lies. Right. So it's for, it's to create that attention to themselves, to make themselves a victim, right? To make them, to seem like they're creating a narrative for themselves. So when someone creates a detailed, emotionally convincing story, and it's not necessarily for money, but to shape how they're seen, that is what this pathological lying condition known as pseudologia fantastica. So,
but does the person know? Like the person with this...
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Psychological disorder, can I say disorder?
Yeah, I don't think it actually technically has like a diagnosis in the DSM, which is like the sort of the book for deciding whether or not something is classified as a disorder. So, getting back to the story, right? It's at first, people are believing this lie, right?
Yeah.
She created this lie.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, right? The injuries were real, right?
That's crazy.
Everything seemed like her. She was disheveled. She was thinner, right? So clearly she wasn't eating properly. She had a burn mark on her shoulder, right? But the thing that kind of cast doubt into people's eyes, right? Because at first everyone believed her and everyone just thought, oh, thank God she's back. And, even a couple of years went by right after, right? But the thing that kind of crept up that people kind of came back to was the motive. Like, what was the motive of these two captors, right? These two women that captured her, right? Because apparently her stories were, her lies were very vague. And, when they tried to piece together why someone would capture her, there was no ransom. There was no explanation for any of it, right? For why it would happen to her. So, and
definitely the police could not get those two women that she described,
because
right?
she made them up.
Yeah, I know.
Because they didn't
exist.
But
the police would try
of course. And they eventually just stopped looking because, they couldn't find anyone, of course, because there was no one to be found. But eventually, they started thinking deeper about it and about how it just wasn't adding up. Like, some of the details just didn't make sense. Her explanations were really vague. And if no one's asking for ransom, like, why capture someone and kidnap them and there's no rationale for it? She had no explanations for anything. It just seemed too random, right? So that's when investigators started digging deeper. And the big piece of information that really got this case back open was they found DNA on her clothing and they tested it. Now, the critical piece of information that came back is that it came from a male. So it was not, that doesn't make sense, right? Because it shouldn't exist in her story. Yeah. According to her story, she was out for a run and then two women attacked her and captured her and kidnapped her and, tortured her and whatnot. But the only DNA on her clothing was that of her own and a male that was not her husband. So she was clearly with a guy, some guy, right? Yeah. And that doesn't make any sense. So they keep looking and they do some digging. And eventually they find out that the DNA that was on her clothing matched her ex-boyfriend.
Well, she then ran away
with her ex-boyfriend, right? Exactly. Yeah. So she went out for a run, basically, right? And got her boyfriend. Yeah. So her ex-boyfriend's name was James Reyes. So it turns out that she contacted him, asked him to pick her up, stayed with him voluntarily for weeks, right? So this was all set up. She asked him to go pick her up. And this is where another psychology concept comes in. Okay, that's related to what we were talking about before with the pathological lying. But this is something that some people have, and maybe she has as well. And you know, just as a caveat here, this is not me diagnosing anyone. I'm just saying these are things that are consistent with, you know, her personality, at least just from a quick look, you know. Factitious disorder, which more people would know it as Munchausen. Okay, so if you've ever heard of Munchausen by proxy, I think more people are familiar with Munchausen by proxy, which is when someone, basically a caretaker, ends up making often their child or something sick purposely.
What?
Yes, so that they can make sure that person is reliant on them, and that they get that reinforcement by being that caregiver for them continually. They don't want, you know, they want that attention, and they want that reliance of someone on, you know, to rely on them.
Wow, even psychology is very complicated.
Yeah, it's a mess. But so this Munchausen, and I guess they've renamed that factitious disorder.
So what's how is that related to her?
So this is related to her because this is when someone doesn't just tell a story, right? It's not just about lying, but they create physical evidence to support it, right? So in this case, she hurt herself. Right? She got her ex to brand her with, you know, like with, you know, burn her shoulder. She starved herself. She, like, you know, hurt her nose, probably got him to punch her in the nose or something, right? So she had all these real injuries. And it was all so that she could build this story, right?
Making it real.
Exactly. So what we were talking about before, the pseudologia fantastica, in a sense, is the part that builds the story. And then factitious behavior makes the story real. So that's the part that adds that realism to it, right? So in this case, the story is the kidnapping, and then the evidence is the weight loss, the injuries, the branding. And together it just creates something that feels completely believable, right? And that's why so many people believed it, and why it got so much national attention. And, you know, it was this big, fantastic national story that... you know, everyone thought she was just lucky, right?
Did she get charged though?
Yes, she did end up getting busted eventually, and that's how we know about everything here, right? But we'll get to that in a sec. So so why does the ex go along with it, right? Like, that's kind of the part that, you know, I started asking myself, like, why would he even agree to any of that? And it's because he thought that she was being abused. Because she told him that.
Oh, so she is also building another narrative to her ex.
Exactly.
About her husband.
Yeah. And if he believes that, right? If he believes he's, you know, helping someone, he's not believing that he's helping to fake a crime. He's believing that he is, you know, helping her escape, right? In a sense, right? He's thinking that he's doing something good for someone rather than committing a criminal act of, like, faking something like that, right? So I can understand why he would do that, right?
But I would also be very suspicious. I mean, maybe not being suspicious to the level of, oh, she's probably faking it, but maybe I would be more careful in agreeing to do that, because if she stays, if I were him, right? That would not be good for me. If her husband knows something, then no, it's not good for him and also for their family.
No, of course not. No, and the husband is definitely, the husband definitely was not very impressed when he found out everything about this, right? So, So you know, there's a bunch of different sides to this, and I'm just speculating with a lot of these things, right? Like with those psychological terms and whatnot. And, you know, some people say that the ex was kind of using this rescue dynamic, right, where he's kind of like the white knight coming in and saving her, right, which is something that gets tossed around quite a bit. Yeah, exactly. Where someone steps in as like a role of a savior, and but anyway. But then, then you might ask, okay, so didn't a couple of years go by, and the ex probably knew at that point that there was nothing really going on. She wasn't being abused, right? Mm-hmm. She just went back to everything. But he still never told anyone, right? So why wouldn't he why wouldn't he tell anyone? Why wouldn't he bring it?
Well, again, it's not good for him.
No.
Come on.
It's not. No, exactly. Exactly.
I want to say something, but it's also not good for me either.
No, exactly. Because it's going to make him, it's going to make him look really bad, right?
Yeah.
But he's also probably thinking in his head, he's like, well, I already got involved, right? And I thought I was doing something right. So coming forward now, no, I actually really did do the right thing. Or maybe he even convinced himself that she was being abused. And, people are pretty, our minds are really interesting that way. We can trick ourselves pretty easily with like what we believe is true and what's not. So anyway, so why did she actually even do all of this? Because it wasn't for money, right? She didn't actually get any money. There was no ransom ever. It wasn't for revenge. So really, it just looks like she was doing it for attention, reinforcement, escapism, right? Escaping maybe her life that she was bored with. Maybe she was tired of being in this relationship with her husband and her family, right? People get bored. But there's also that sense of like narrative control, wanting to tell that story and wanting to sort of create this like fictional space in her mind.
Interesting. Yeah. But how did the police get to her after some years?
Well, that was because of the DNA, right? So because they just kept coming back to the story didn't make sense. There was no motive, because in every crime that you have, right, you have to have some sort of motivation to link, the perpetrator to, the crime, right? And these two women that she was describing, right, that never existed, there just wasn't any motivation for them to actually commit that crime. And her story was always vague. It was the details kind of switched. They weren't consistent with like her injuries. And the other thing too is that her injuries, like there was not even just the injuries, but like the chain around her waist when she got found. It was really loose and it allowed her to like move around. So like it was clear that it was staged once they knew that it was fake. It was like, oh yeah, this is obviously she did this herself. Anyway, so years later, after all this happens, she pleads guilty, admits everything, and she's sentenced to 18 months in prison and ordered to repay over $300,000.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So don't mess with, the public's and the police's time, right?
Wow.
But you got to think about it, right? Like think about how many search parties had to go out, how many resources had to be put into this. Like the police had to get in on this, like hundreds of people were involved, and like there's tons of community resources that had to be used for a case like this. So it was, any news anchors and news, stations have to like broadcast time on this.
Right.
And anyway, it was just like a big disaster. And so I guess it's kind of like, a cautionary tale of, hey, maybe don't lie.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Don't do
that because you could get not just jail time, but you could have to pay something that will probably bankrupt you for the rest of your life. Like, I mean, $300,000. I don't know about any of the listeners out there, but that's like life-changing for us. so yeah.
That's a lot of money.
That's a shit ton of money. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so her family, what happened with her family afterwards, right? Her husband,
the kids.
Yeah, exactly. Well, her husband, who he believed her publicly, and he backed her up, right, publicly the whole time. He was obviously super angry, and he ended up filing for divorce. And he filed for custody of his children as well. And they're sort of kept, there's not much about the children. They were pretty young anyway, but they try to keep them out of the spotlight, which is good.
But after how many years?
I don't know how many years it was. It was at least like 2 or 3, though.
After the lie.
After the lie, and after she got found, quote unquote, right? Like, yeah, when she decided to come back from her little fling with her ex, I guess. So the public obviously ends up being super pissed off. It's pretty intense, because people believed it. They followed it, they shared it, and then when they realized it wasn't real, they were just like, this is like
that's
horrible.
Just a joke.
Yeah, well, you would be if you're like trying to share things. Yeah, I'd be so pissed too. Like even just as a viewer, be like, what the fuck? Like I just got taken for. It's just yeah. So, but part of the thing about this case is that it's not just that it was that she lied. It's just that how convincing she made it too, right? Like the fact that she went that far and branded herself.
Yeah, exactly. So she was thinking a lot about that.
Yeah, that's not just a lie. That's pathological, right? Like that is
leaving the phone and put some hair on it.
Yep.
I would not be able to live without my phone, I think.
Yep.
So she decided to just leave it, but yeah, definitely she had probably another backup though.
Yeah, exactly. So
everything was planned out.
Yeah, exactly. So at first, it looked like a crime, but in the end, it was really just there was no kidnapping, there was no captor. But
that's still a crime.
It's still a crime, though, right? So it comes back to was it a crime? Yeah, it's a crime, but no crime happened in like her story, right? Yeah. So like the crime was her making up the story about a fake crime.
That's true.
So that's the story of Tell Me the Crime today, episode
that's a good
8.
one. Interesting.
Yeah, and it's pretty fascinating. I think they even made like a documentary on it too.
Oh, really?
I think so. Yeah, but
it should be like psychological. Not psychological thriller, but maybe.
Well, I'd be curious to know like if people have diagnosed her with any personality disorders or anything, that I mentioned today.
Yeah, but I was actually surprised though, because I don't know if her husband did not really know her that well, or she was really good at hiding her psychological needs in that sense, because if you lie, then I think some people could detect that behavior.
Oh, for sure.
So
I don't know, but I mean, she was obviously, she was quite good at it, which suggests to me that she was pretty practiced at that. And like I said, there are people that are just pathological liars. I've known people that are I've dated people that are pathological liars and even admitted themselves that they are. Yeah.
What?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's happened. Yeah, for sure. But anyway.
Wow.
I know. And it's just like about stupid things, and they would just like lie for no reason, and you just like, why are you doing attention, I guess, and creating a narrative that makes them a victim, and it's just I don't know.
Create a book, write a book, write a novel, sell it.
Oh, I could with all the people. Yeah, the people that dated. My crazy
people.
Exes. No, I'm kidding. No.
Those people with the tendency of getting attention through lies. I think.
Oh yeah.
Maybe the energy could be devoted
There's a
to
lot
something.
more. There's a lot more people out there that do that though than you realize. Yeah, you're just a very stable, normal person.
The guilt,
That's the thing though, is that these people often, will create these narratives so convincingly that they start to believe them themselves, right? Like, and again, people have, some people just have a need for that attention, and they don't feel good enough about themselves, so they have that self-esteem boost by getting all of that attention.
Well,
right?
I think it's about the matter of how far that's set in the dimension, because everyone will have self-doubt, once in a while. But if it's, too much in that sense that you start creating lies and just to get attention, then that's a problem.
Yeah, it's a problem. Definitely is. And especially in this case, she got a $300,000 problem and 18 months in prison.
God.
So yeah, I guess there you go. That's all I got today. So
thank you for tell us a crime that was not a crime, but
kind of was. Ended up being one in the end. Okay. So, all right. Well, thank you everyone, and we will see you next week.
Next week.